Welcome to BBC London with me, Assad Ahmed. This is what's on tonight. Direct trains from London to Germany, Switzerland and Italy could be coming our way as St Pancras Station looks to expand.
That would be more efficient, it's better for the environment, it's better for everybody. I mean, I'd love it.
I'm not overly comfortable with the carbon footprint of flying constantly, so yeah, trains are a much better choice.
We'll be live at the station, also tonight. Some of the residents evacuated after a sinkhole appeared in their village in Surrey this week go home. Hair salons call for government tax cuts ahead of the national insurance rise in order to survive. And
Bond baddies have blown up this building many times. Now the franchise has changed hands. What does that mean for 007 and the studios and often city the films are made in?
good evening. Over 30 years after the Channel Tunnel opened, allowing London to be directly linked with France, we could now be close to being linked directly with Germany, Switzerland and Italy too. The plan from the owners of St Pancras Station would mean expanding it to accommodate thousands of passengers an hour. And let's get more now on this from our reporter Barry Caffrey, who's there. Barry.
That's right, Assad. This is all part of plans to boost passenger numbers here at St Pancras International Station. London St Pancras High Speed is the company that owns this station and operates the track between here and the Channel Tunnel. Now, of course, Eurostar have a monopoly here at the moment. Eurostar offers direct services between London and Amsterdam, Paris and Brussels, as well as seasonal ski services to the French Alps. It did used to operate services between London and Disneyland Paris. That service stopped in June 2023. But could we see more destinations on offer? There is talk of direct routes being launched between here and Milan, as well as Marseille and Bordeaux in France, and also Switzerland to Zurich, among other destinations. Well, I've spent the evening here at St Pancras International, have been speaking to some passengers to get their opinion.
Yeah, I think it's amazing, especially given as though most train routes head straight into a city centre. It's so direct. You miss out on a lot of the terrible stuff that we hate when we're travelling to airports.
Myself and my partner, we would be more than willing to travel by train if it was efficient and economical to do so.
I mean, time-wise, when you think about it, time, it adds up, it's the same. At least you're comfortable, you're sat in a seat, and you have, as long as you have all the commodities on board, it's fine.
So Barry, other train operators could be interested in running services from St Pancras. Do we know who?
We do. A Spanish startup company, Evolyn, as well as Sir Richard Branson's Virgin Group, are developing proposals to launch rival services. And Getlink, that's the French owner of the Channel Tunnel, believes there is potential for more services, including to Germany, to Bordeaux and Marseille in France, as well as Cologne and Frankfurt in Germany. A little earlier, we spoke to the independent travel expert, Simon Calder.
We desperately need competition, but the barriers to entry are huge. You've got to have special rolling stock to go through the Channel Tunnel. And then there's the problem of finding space at London St Pancras after all the extra red tape we asked for when we voted to leave the European Union. I'm afraid I don't ever see the prospect of trains from here to Milan because, well, there's 35 flights a day from London to the 3 Milan airports, and it takes about 2 hours compared with a minimum of 10 hours or so.
Simon Calder, the independent travel expert there. Well, I can tell you, Assad, it's not clear when any of this will happen, and certainly it's not likely to happen before the year 2030. Back to you, Assad.
We'll certainly keep a close eye on what happens, Barry, at St Pancras Station. Thanks very much. Well, this is BBC London, still to come tonight.
It's one of London's most iconic buildings, and from tomorrow you can see it in a whole new light as St Paul's Cathedral is taken over by this light and sound immersive experience, and we've got you a sneak peek.
And it's lambing season at this farm in Hertfordshire, where they've had not just one set of quadruplets, but two.
Hair salon owners are calling on the government to cut their taxes as they say they struggle to make ends meet. To keep costs down, an increasing number of them are opting to allow hairdressers to be self-employed and rent chairs in salons rather than having their own staff. Well, it saves on VAT, but that could also have a knock-on effect for the future of hairdressing, as Bryony Williams reports.
A lady's cut at the Vanilla Rooms hair salon costs on average just over £60, but that price could go up by as much as 20% for consumers as the owner reassesses the finances after Labour's budget announcement.
Financially, the government's decisions in October will cost me over £1,000 a week to stay exactly the same, which is not feasible.
The industry body, the British Hair Consortium, warns this change is decimating the sector and is calling on the government to rethink how much tax hairdressers pay.
The current VAT system for hairdressing and most businesses is actually 20%. And what's happened is that there's been two different types of business models that have sprung up. One of those is employing, paying VAT and training the next generation. And then next door, you can have a salon that looks identical, that avoids paying VAT.
The Treasury spokesperson says the government is levelling the playing field for high street businesses, including hairdressers, by cutting business rates and capping corporation tax. But it's not just salon owners who are feeling uncertain about the future.
Actually, the national insurance business rate are the main concern of our members. Businesses, they need funding. The businesses, they need to survive. And we urge the government, while we respect what they are doing, but also we need to address the concerns of our members.
The government says it's focused on going further and faster to kickstart economic growth. And it's fair to say all business owners will be keen to hear what's in the Chancellor's spring forecast in just a few weeks' time. Bryony Williams, BBC London.
Some of the residents in a village in Surrey who were evacuated after a large sinkhole appeared on their high street have been allowed to return home. Just yesterday, the council said it could be months before all those evacuated could go back. Well, Thomas McGill has the latest for us from Godstone for us this evening. Thomas.
Yes, Assad, it's 4 days since this huge sinkhole appeared here in the middle of Godstone, effectively splitting this village in two. This is normally the busy main road through the village that's currently closed. And as you can see from this drone footage, the scale of the hole that was created on Monday. Now, it's not just the 30 families who were abruptly evacuated late on Monday night who have been affected. We heard from businesses yesterday, and today I've been speaking to people within the wider community who say they're really scared. There's concern that this could happen on another road to their home or in their garden, and that is causing a little bit of chatter amongst locals here in Godstone. Now, Tandridge District Council says it's continuing to support 8 families with temporary accommodation and have said today that 6 other families who were evacuated have now been able to return home. So a little bit of good news there, and more good news as if it's needed. They said that they will freeze the business rates for businesses affected and the council tax for those affected until things return back to normal. Here's what the leader of the District Council told me earlier.
Today, 6 of those households have been able to go back to their homes. Those homes have been assessed as safe by surveyors, so they've now gone back.
Can you give us a sense then of, out of the 24 families who are still out of their homes, how many you're helping directly with accommodation?
Well, I know the night before last we had 8 families in temporary accommodation, and we're advising others. I mean, gradually I think insurance companies are coming round to the fact that they should help. What we've also done today is to waive their council tax and the business rates, and that's for people who've had to move out of their properties, and the council tax is waived for the whole time they're out.
So a little bit of good news there, but at the moment this is a story without an ending because Surrey County Council engineers are continuing to carry out their investigation, and until that is complete, no one knows what caused this sinkhole and, more crucially, whether there's anyone or any company to blame. Asad.
Yeah, it is extraordinary what happened there, and seeing the pictures of there. Thomas McGill in Godstone in Surrey, many thanks. Well, let's take a look now at some other news making the headlines in and around London today. Police have released images of 3 men they want to speak to following the fatal stabbing of 20-year-old Jason Romeo in Lower Clapton on Tuesday evening. Detectives say the men are known to frequent the areas of Hackney, Walthamstow and Deptford. Motorists are being warned to plan ahead and avoid the M25 this weekend. The country's busiest motorway will be closed in both directions between junctions 10 at Wisley and 11 at Woking. The closure is part of National Highways' multi-million-pound upgrade around the A3 junction. And local wildlife is returning to Hackney Marshes thanks to a rewilding project. Small mammals had been slowly disappearing from around the River Lee area until volunteers began rebuilding their ecosystems with logs and by selectively cutting trees. And as usual, there are more stories you can read on the BBC London website, bbc.co.uk/London, or just go to your local BBC News website. The public are being given the opportunity to see one of London's most famous landmarks in a whole new light. It's because St Paul's Cathedral has been transformed for a spectacular light and sound show which starts tomorrow and is on for around a week. Frankie McCamley has had the chance to see what to expect. She's at St Paul's for us this evening. Frankie.
Well, good evening, Asad. We are in the heart of St Paul's Cathedral, which is one of the most iconic buildings in the capital. It's also hosted some of the most memorable events in history, from royal weddings to Winston Churchill's funeral. But today, as you can probably see, it is looking and sounding a little bit different as this new immersive experience is filling the walls, the ceilings, even the crypt below us. It is this new installation that's coming here for the next week, and at one point this whole building is going to light up red, signifying the Great Fire that destroyed parts of this building. There's plenty more history to discover here too. Now, a little earlier I was speaking to some of the people behind this brand new installation to find out what they hope visitors coming this week will take away.
I'd really love them to think about St Paul's in a different way. We've been the spiritual and cultural heart of London for an incredibly long time. There's a building been on this site for 1600 years, and this is one of the most famous buildings in London. I'd love them to come away with that renewed sense that this is their building and this is their heritage and our shared heritage.
It sort of takes this journey through from the old cathedral, through the reason that cathedral fell down, it was burnt in the Great Fire, the resurrection of the building with Wren. Through the archives we have lots of his drawings and manuscripts which are projected in large scale, but we've also got really fine detail which we're projecting large scale. So it is really quite special and brings this place to life in a way, talking about its history, but in a very unique way.
Well, this is the first time anything like this has come to St Paul's Cathedral, so it is a very special experience where people can walk around and see these beautiful sights and sounds that I'll leave you with for just a couple of moments.
That looks absolutely spectacular. That's inside St Paul's Cathedral. Frankie McCamley, many thanks for that. It looks beautiful. Now, a week after a fire ripped through the listed Chiltern Firehouse Hotel in Marylebone, experts believe it could be years before it reopens. The five-star property, known for its celebrity clientele, was badly damaged after wood fell from a pizza oven. Local businesses are also concerned that there could be a knock-on effect for them. Vincent McAvenny reports from the area.
Valentine's Day brought a nasty surprise for those celebrating at Chiltern Firehouse. More than 120 firefighters fought a blaze at the exclusive hotel, which was previously itself a historic fire station. Well, a week on and crews are continuing to erect safety hoardings around the popular hotel and restaurant, and the damage is clear from the outside of the building. Now, its status as a celebrity hotspot meant that it was pretty much booked up year round, and that's got independent traders on this street concerned because they're worried if there is a lengthy period of works to bring it back to life, their footfall will be hit for some time to come. Monocle operates a cafe and 2 shops on Chiltern Street.
You could see from either end, from right here and right there, and also in the alleyway behind, the flames licking up through the old rafters. So it was a really ominous, sinister scene. All of the businesses around here have an amazingly loyal customer base, so we haven't seen a drop in footfall yet, here or at the Monocle shop. But I suppose what we have seen is some real intrigue about what's next for this building.
Down the street at apothecary store Anatomy, founder Brendan is concerned about how long the works will take.
It's super important to us for it to be open and for visitors coming in, and without it we would lose a lot of the footfall coming into the street, and we'd lose a lot of the customers that really enjoy coming to Chiltern Street as a destination.
But the architecture firm that restored Windsor Castle after its fire and worked on the firehouse previously thinks it could be several years before it reopens.
The balance needs to be looked at between conservation of the existing building and the remains, looking at the significance of the building, and then alongside that, the improvements that can be made and the opportunities that are there to improve, for example, the thermal performance, the fire stopping performance, and potentially accessibility or other elements of the project.
For now, the priority is stabilising the building, recovering what can be saved and drying it out, which could take a full year before any restoration works can even begin. Vincent McAviney, BBC London.
Now, you may have heard that after over 60 years, the James Bond film franchise is to be taken over by online retailer Amazon. Until now, it's been controlled by London-raised Barbara Broccoli and her half-brother Michael. Well, Pinewood Studios in Buckinghamshire has been home to 23 of the 25 Bond films, but will any more be made there? Wendy Hurrell has this report.
Filming of No Time to Die finished in 2019. Fans had to wait another 2 years to see it after the pandemic. Now, Bond could finally be back.
The past isn't dead.
Bring us up to speed on the latest of this James Bond saga.
In 2022, Amazon did go into a co-leagues with the Bond producers, the Broccoli's, to take Bond forward, and that was 3 years ago, and it was a 50-50 stake and all of that. But right now, what Amazon have done is they've taken the steering wheel. The Broccoli's might be sat in the back seat looking over it, but it's a new steering wheel that's going to be very Amazon. You know, if we have all these spin-off TV shows, Money Penny Adventures, Gardening with Jaws, I'd watch it, so would you. They could be done well. They could actually be good things.
It's a quintessentially British franchise.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, this building's been blown up several times on Bond films.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a London franchise as well. Are we going to lose that essence, do you think?
Yes, any film can use London. We always see red buses going across every Mission Impossible movie. But there is a real British production DNA in the Bond films, and that involves Pinewood, that involves London, it involves the home counties, and London as a starring role. I don't think we'll lose London. I hope that Pinewood still is in the mix. Bond is part of their DNA. It's literally in the corridors and the roof tiles. I hope it goes back there. I mean, it's also the crews that can do a Bond film are linked to Pinewood, the stuntmen, the makeup designers, even things like catering. A Bond film's a massive ecosystem.
The other big question is, are we now going to see an American Bond?
An American Bond, oh, shudder. There's a tiny part of me, a controversial part of me, that thinks that's not a totally wrong idea if it has to happen. But I really hope that Amazon just stick to the British DNA of the characters.
Who would you like to see it be?
I'm quite team Aaron Taylor-Johnson at the moment, just for lots of reasons. He's kind of an odd mix of Roger Moore and Daniel Craig.
It has been 5.5 years since we had the last Bond film. Is this not actually a good thing for fans?
Yes. Yeah, it's certainly, instead of Thunderball, it's been a big curveball, and a few fans are worried it's a wrecking ball. But Bond has to move forward. it's great to have all these DB5s and these nods to the 60s and the 70s, but Bond has to move forward, otherwise it's just a legacy brand. And Amazon have the skill and reach for that. As I say, they're not just air fryers and hair dryers, they do make movies. And they've got a little bit of money. So we could see a sort of more frequent turnover of films. So I'm hoping it's a good thing. My martini glass is half full today, not half empty.
Salute.
Wendy Hurrell, BBC London.
Well, the time now is 6:52. Time to tell you that coming up on BBC Radio London on Saturday is someone I plan to get a selfie with.
Hi, I'm Gary Kemp and I'll be sitting in for Robert Elms tomorrow on BBC Radio London, so tune in from 10 o'clock.
Now, 100 years after her first novel was published, the prolific writer Dame Barbara Cartland is being remembered in her home county of Hertfordshire. On average, incredibly, she would write a novel every 2 weeks. But what many people don't know about her is her tireless fight against injustice and helping others. Nicola Hazler went to take a look.
I do now have a separate secretary for my 10,000 health letters I do a year.
Dame Barbara Cartland is remembered most for her romantic novels, her love of pink and small dogs, and her traditional views on women. But what you might not know is the part she played in local politics, her campaigns for women and children, and public health.
There has been a stereotype created, but actually it couldn't be further from the truth. She would use her voice as a famous celebrity to help other people. So she helped conditions for the midwives, she helped conditions for old people, and one of the things she was most proud of was getting the law changed so that the Romani community could have a fixed abode so that the children could go to school. She had a lot of fan letters. She told me once it was up to 30,000 in a year, but she would write back to every single one.
Well, this is the Cartland pink that she was often seen in, and it became synonymous with romance because of her novels. And she was often parodied for her flamboyant style, but she took it all in good fun.
This is The Dragon and the Pearl. It's set in China. Over here, The Elusive Earl, you know, she's sort of 19th century dress. There's a sort of misconception that all Barbara Cartland novels are the same. There's, you know, the young heroine, the Earl or the Marquis or whatever. Yes, it's romantic, but there's a lot of action, there's a lot of adventure.
And what would you say to people who think that Dame Barbara Cartland's views on women were not very progressive?
She had very fixed ideas, which, you know, some of them I don't share. But everything she was doing was for the benefit of women, to her mind. So, you know, and her life, living her life, the way she lived her life as a career woman, as a business magnate, very, very progressive. How many people born in 1901 could have achieved what she achieved?
What was it like having Dame Barbara Cartland as your grandmother?
It was wonderful. I mean, she's such an inspiration and also someone brilliant to talk to if you had any romantic issues. My one big abiding memory of her is she had an incredible sense of humour and, you know, was very, very generous with her time, her humour and her wit.
Nicola Hazler, BBC London.
Now we're heading into the peak of the lambing season, and at a farm in St Albans they've had the rare surprise of a ewe giving birth to quadruplets, which is a rare occurrence. But what makes it even more rare is that another ewe on the same farm also had quadruplets just hours later. Lee Milner went to meet the new arrivals.
It's been a busy start to the lambing season at Willow's Activity Farm in Hertfordshire. For the very first time, 2 different ewes have given birth to quadruplets.
It's not unusual for ewes to have twins or even triplets, but to have 2 sets of quadruplets on the same day is incredibly rare.
In fact, there's about a 1 in 500 chance of a ewe delivering quadruplets.
Lambs should be born front feet first, okay?
Tuck here, giving a talk to the children, was the shepherd who delivered both sets of quadruplets on the night.
We weren't expecting it, especially being scanned as a triplet.
Yeah.
We weren't expecting it at all.
And then it happened again?
Yeah. Yeah, about...
What are the odds?
I don't know what the odds are, but they're not very high.
How exciting is it as a shepherd to see that happen?
Depends what time of the day.
Yeah, I guess.
2:30 in the morning, it's not very... Yeah, all you do is want to go to bed, but... And no, it's very exciting. It is exciting, and it's you're thinking, oh hell, what's happening? But keeps you on your toes.
does the night check. So he came in, saw that there was a triplet lambing, left them to it, came back for his next check, and to his surprise, there was another lamb. We then had another triplet who was lambing in the morning. So she had her 3 babies, we left her to it, and again came back in half an hour, and we had a 4th lamb. So we were very shocked and excited about the whole thing.
And the lambs seem to be proving very popular with the visitors.
So I love the lambs, and I love the lambs, and I like the sheep, and I also like the different colours that they've got on them. And we give them food.
Yeah. Are they hungry today?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll give them some food. Go on then.
The farm park is currently running its half-term event until this Sunday, but visitors can see newborn lambs every day over the next couple of months. Lee Milner, BBC London, at Willows Activity Farm.
OK, let's get the weather forecast now from Darren. And it was noticeably milder today, almost felt warm compared to what we've had.
Absolutely, big change. It will be a little bit cooler for us this weekend though, Assad. A lot of cloud probably for the weekend as well, but for the most part it is going to be dry, but it will be turning windy on Sunday. We had strong winds today, but it was a southerly wind with a little bit of sunshine earlier on. Those temperatures reached 16 degrees, the warmest it's been so far this year. But we've replaced that mild air with some wet weather, and it's going to be quite wet through much of the night. We'll keep a lot of cloud around as well. That, of course, will keep the temperatures up no lower than 8 or 9 minimum by tomorrow morning. This rain that we've got in the morning soon moves away, but I think the cloud is going to be a bit more reluctant to break up. It'll be probably for mid-afternoon that it starts to break. We'll get some late sunshine. That brings us a low risk of 1 or 2 showers to end the day. Temperatures are mild for the time of year. 12 or 13 is pretty good, just not quite as high as it was during today. Now, as we head into the second half of the weekend, well, there is this big area of low pressure here that's rushing to the north of the UK. It is going to bring some really strong winds. We're not going to get the worst of it, but it will be a windier day, I think, during Sunday. There may be a bit of early brightness and sunshine, but expect a lot of cloud on Sunday. But there is some rain to come. It's behind me for most of the time. That rain will arrive as we head towards the end of the day, and we've got temperatures of 11 or 12 degrees. If we look further ahead into next week, well, once that rain does clear away, it will gradually turn a little bit cooler for next week. 9, 10 degrees, that sort of order. Near normal for the time of year. There'll be some sunshine, but also some showers. Asa.
Darren, many thanks for that. OK, that's it for now. Frankie McCamney will be here with our late news at 10:30. I'll be back with our weekend news tomorrow afternoon at 5:30. For now, from us all, do have a very good evening. Bye-bye.